This feels like such a momentous occasion for me personally. It feels like we're finally getting to it.
Oh, okay. Just 3 episodes in.
This is what I've been waiting for. This book specifically.
Everything has been building to this.
The last 2 episodes, everything that we've worked towards has been for this moment.
Okay, no pressure.
Welcome back to the read-through. This episode is part 1 of the season finale of the Infernal Devices. This book is, of course, the Clockwork Princess. This book is definitely Will's book.
Okay.
The first one, we get a lot of, that's mostly Tessa. It's mostly her journey.
That's true, and I feel like Jem is quite heavily prominent in the second book.
The second book is lots of Tessa and Jem, and this book, it's mostly Will. Will and his journey, because he's been the other sort of dominant POV that we've gotten in the first book, and partially the second book, but I would honestly say they're like the 2 main characters.
Okay. And what is it like being inside of Will's head? Because you know how I feel when it's specifically romantasy, but also in general, like I won't read dual POV romance, like traditional romance, because I hate being in a man's head, particularly when I would say 90% of the time, I don't like the way the man is thinking about the relationship / the woman.
I generally agree. It's like third person omniscient.
Okay.
Where you're not quite in their head. It's not necessarily that each character has such a distinct voice.
Okay.
But it's not inner monologue per se.
Okay. Did you see that tweet from an author who was like, my publisher just told me that young people won't read third person omniscient anymore?
I did, because then it caused a whole thing on Threads between people who are that group of people who say they only like to read first person.
And then the people who are like, I won't read first person because I would never do that.
So there were those people.
It has to be rage bait.
The people who were like, I only read first person because otherwise I feel like I can't relate to the character. And then you look at their profile and you look at what else they read, and they do only read white people.
Oh.
Because it's the same.
That is not where I thought you were going.
No, because it's the same.
Because they're like, I can't relate?
The Venn diagram of people who say that they only like to read first person, and the same people who say that they struggle to read diversely because they can't relate, is generally a circle. And people do say that. People say, oh,
I think the whole point of reading is to get other people's perspectives, though. Why would you want to relate to every main character? I certainly would not. I'm reading Ballad of Falling Dragons right now. I don't want to be any of those bitches.
You would think, but hey, we have a serious empathy crisis happening, and I do feel that this isn't unrelated, but that's neither here nor there. Once again, we do have a dog present, so if you hear dog sounds,
we apologize / trigger warning, dog sounds.
So, it has been about 2 months since the events of the last book. Remember the last book?
Damn, time jump.
Yeah, remember the last book took place over the span of like 2 weeks, right? So this book, much longer timeline. Tessa and Jem's wedding preparations are in the works. Charlotte is pretty pregnant, and Cecily, Will's younger sister, who we met at the end of the last book.
Right.
When she
pulled up.
Has been training as a shadow hunter, which she is naturally pretty good at. Cecily's time hasn't necessarily been the happy reunion that she was hoping for. Her true intentions for coming were to convince Will to return to her, because she is convinced that the shadow hunters kind of stole her brother away from her, and that the shadow hunters are bad people. So she's really pushing for him to at least contact his family, which, as we know, is not allowed. He wants her to go home and to stay away from shadow hunter life. He's very protective older brother, but in his very Will way, where the more he loves you, the more he will push you away.
Yes.
So Cecily is really struggling with that, because the brother that she knew when he was 12 and the Will that exists now,
very different people.
There's a disconnect, and also she's struggling because he seems to be more loyal to Jem, who is seemingly to her just like this random boy, than he is to her.
He's his parabatai.
Right. Well, she didn't grow up in that world, so she doesn't know about the batai. She's like, I am your actual blood relative. So she's not really understanding that. So that's a journey that she goes on throughout the whole book. A weird thing about Cecily's little inner monologue POV is she remarks multiple times on how beautiful Will is. Not like in an incest way, being like, oh, he was 12 when I left and now he's a man.
Okay.
It's not in an incest way, but it is too many times and in too much detail. The thing with Cassandra Clare
There's like a sibling thing.
I am like, please save that for the main series and leave that there. Leave it there. We've accepted it. Leave it there. Anyway.
Have we accepted?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I have. The community, the Shadowhunter community has
You know what? If Star Wars can accept it, I guess.
Right.
I guess we can too.
Okay. So Gabriel Lightwood, the younger brother, had chosen to stay behind, if you recall, with his brother, or with his father, Benedict. As a reminder, Benedict was blackmailed by both our crew and Mortman with the knowledge
because he had demon STD.
That he had contracted the demon STD called demon pox. And Mortman had been supplying him with medication to hold off the symptoms. Gabriel shows up at the Institute, covered in blood, announcing that Benedict had turned into a worm.
Oh!
After learning about Benedict betraying him from sending the drone things into the council meeting, Mortman stopped sending the medication. So the STD just progressed into the final stage.
And now he's a worm.
Which is turning into a demon, and his demon form just so happened to be a worm.
Is he like teeny tiny? Or
no.
Is he like a big worm?
So that is something, of course, Henry is like, well, can we just step on him?
Yeah.
No, it's more like Dune sandworm. Shai-Hulud, if you will.
And I will.
In his worm form, he killed all the servants.
Oh!
Which is how Gabriel ended up covered in blood.
Okay. So evil worm.
Bad. Because he's a demon. Yeah, at this point. So our crew plus Gabriel head back to the Lightwood mansion, which is the same mansion where Tessa and Will had their balcony moment in the second book. So
oh my God.
Obviously Tessa is reminiscing
memories.
about it with her fiancé present.
Of course. How could you not?
So at this point, just a quick status update about Will and Tessa now that it's been 2 months post his love confession, her being like, sorry, I'm engaged, whatever. Will, at this point, he just generally ignores Tessa's presence unless he otherwise has to. He also only calls her Tessa, not Tess anymore.
Wow.
They're both...
Okay, hold on. Her full name is Teresa. So he's not full naming her. He's still calling her a nickname.
Yeah, but that's just the name that she goes by. Everybody calls her Tessa.
Okay.
They're both putting on just Oscar-winning performances to each other.
And Jem has not noticed this?
No, because, and then,
He's not very...
No.
He's not really reading rooms.
Yeah, I mean, for two people who, Will confessed his undying love to her, and she became so upset that she self-harmed. And they're both like, we're fine.
How old are they again?
17.
Yeah, that's some real 17-year-old
17.
shit.
Will actually might be 18 at this point, but Tessa is like a year younger, so she's 17.
I was definitely this dramatic at that age.
Oh, for sure. Anyways, at the mansion, they see that Gideon and Gabriel's sister, Tatiana, who I believe I said in the last book that Tatiana was obsessed with Will in childhood. And
yes, and that he was mean to her, and then he broke
Gabriel's arm. Yeah, so Tatiana, she's still like that. At some point, in between Gabriel leaving to go to the Institute and coming back, Tatiana has arrived. Her main concern in all of this is the reputational damage that it's gonna do. Upon arriving, her worm demon father pulled her new husband out of the carriage and ate him.
Oh!
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. The rest of the crew are fighting Worm Dad. Cecily seems to be a natural and is stressing Will out.
She's like such a good fighter.
Because she was like, obviously I'm coming. He's like, no, you're not. She came, and she's really good. In the end, it's her and Gabriel that end up killing Worm Dad. Gabriel delivers the final death blow. While Will is yelling at her in the way that you yell at someone you're worried about, Gabriel is like, that was one of the bravest things I've ever seen a Shadowhunter do. And Will is hating that.
Sorry,
he's like,
how old is the sister?
Cecily is 15 and Gabriel is like 16, 17.
Okay.
Yeah. I got
really scared. I thought she was like 12.
No, it's all age appropriate. Yeah. All right. Will is hating whatever that is.
Yeah.
Tessa takes Tatiana away because Tatiana is just
newly widowed, bereft, watched her dad eat her husband.
Right. Tessa's also, she had been trying on her wedding dress, like a wedding dress option, when they all decided to go. So Tessa is in a wedding dress, which she's like, well, now you've all seen it, so I'm obviously not getting married in it, so I don't care if you all see it. So she's also not really in tip-top fighting shape. So Will is like, okay, you two in the gowns, go. So Tessa takes Tatiana away, and once again, when Will asks Tessa to take Tatiana away, Jem thinks Will is doing it to protect Tessa for Jem's sake. He's like, thank you, Will. That would
Jem, I'm begging you to have some situational awareness.
Also would annoy me so bad, because even if Will wasn't in love with her, why is Jem's only assumption that he would only be doing that for Jem and not because Tessa is at this point one of his best friends?
Wow. Jem Carstairs doesn't see women as people.
Right. Let's talk about that. No,
Let's unpack it.
That's gonna upset Jem.
That's its own video essay.
Jem has shooters that are Jem.
Oh my god, like Armand.
This book came out in like 2013, so like decades old fan club. We're not gonna talk about it. Inside the mansion has left Tatiana outside. Inside the mansion, Tessa and Henry find in Benedict's office, scrawled on the wall in presumably blood, "The infernal devices are without pity. The infernal devices are without regret. May God have mercy on our soul."
I feel that whoever scrawled that maybe could have used an editor to just like parse it down. Is this the first time we're seeing the term infernal devices?
They had kind of dropped it a little bit, but if you recall, that is the name of the trilogy, the Infernal Devices.
That's why I'm asking. But
right.
What does it mean in world?
They're like, oh, the Infernal Devices must mean the automatons.
The Clockwork people.
That he's planning to infuse with demon energy. That's probably the name.
Understood.
For these creatures, surely.
Surely.
So, after Worm Dad is killed, Jem... It's easier.
Yeah.
It's easier. Jem was immediately in really bad shape. He's collapsed, coughing blood, etc. The Silent Brothers said he had internal bleeding. And while they were able to stop it, clearly things are declining. When Will visits Jem after, he sees that the box of the demon drug, which Will had purchased a year's supply 2 months ago, because remember, Mortman was buying it all up.
Yes.
The supply was almost entirely empty.
Damn.
And Will is like, so it's been 2 months, how'd that happen?
How did that happen?
Jem reveals that he's been upping his dose, which, while that makes him feel better than his normal dose, it also accelerates the rate at which the drug will kill him. He says that he made the decision to live life fully with Tessa, with the knowledge that it would be for a shorter time than to live a life longer, but still feeling unwell. This is so silly. He truly believed at first that his love for Tessa was making him better. That is one of the things he tells Tessa when he confesses to her, that my love for you is healing me. Right?
That is part of why she's like, fuck, I gotta marry this guy, I guess.
Right. But when he got sick again, when he realized that that wasn't the case, he started taking more of the drug because he didn't want her to think that he was getting sick because he loved her
because his love
less.
wasn't actually strong enough to heal him. Oh my god.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where I'm like, she would not think that. That's just you.
He doesn't know that because he doesn't see her as a person.
In the end, Will and Jem agree not to tell Tessa. And Will is like, please let me take back my promise to not look for a cure. Because Jem had made everyone in the Institute promise to stop.
Literally, why?
Because he'd accepted his fate.
What kind of self-sacrificing bullshit? I don't know. They probably have time. Someone's got time. That autistic inventor man.
Henry.
Henry's got time.
Yeah.
Henry's not up to much. I don't know. He hasn't come up in the book yet, really.
Yeah, he's one of those where he's around a lot, but it's not really relevant to
He's building a crib.
The plot. He actually does build a crib. Yeah, that is something that happens. He does build a crib, and he's like, it's gonna be a self-rocking crib, and he shows Charlotte, and she's like, okay, and then the crib explodes, and she's like, so no more crib.
No more crib. Okay.
So
so maybe we don't want Henry looking for the cure, but somebody.
So he's present a lot in just these nice moments with Charlotte, but nothing that's really moving the plot forward.
We love a house husband.
It's one of those things where if you truly want to know what all of the 50,000 side characters are up to and all of the relationship building, you are going to have to read the book.
I won't be doing that.
Like, there are limits to what is actually engaging to hear. So, a quick love triangle check-in just to see where our trio's at. And an interesting development. At this point, both Will and Tessa are jealous. We see Will obviously jealous during intense moments where he wants to protect or comfort Tessa, and he's like, that's not my place. I'm not her fiance. Jem, that's his place. You know, like during a fight, he's like, oh, I want to protect her, but whatever.
Yeah.
Tessa is jealous during intense moments where she wants to protect or comfort Jem and has to remind herself that it's Will's place as his parabatai, not hers, when Jem asks for Will instead of her. Like, when Jem collapsed, the first person he asked for was Will when he was allowed to have visitors.
Whoa.
And she was like, of course. Like,
wait, this is an intriguing dynamic to me.
Right. So the triangle isn't touching romantically, but it's interesting.
messy.
It's more interesting.
It's
now.
messy, yeah.
Yeah. Will also, a little bit later in the book, thinks to himself that he wishes that he could commiserate with Jem about also loving Tessa, because he's like...
that's his bestie.
Because, well, not just that, but he's like, we both love the same girl in the same way.
Yeah.
So who better to understand than Jem?
Damn.
Right?
Everybody should kiss.
Right. So while Will is going out to hunt down more demon drug, Tessa finally gets to see Jem, and she's throwing out options of things that he could become to avoid death, like becoming a vampire, which he says he would rather die than do. Because he said that vampires who used to be shadow hunters are not accepted within the greater vampire community.
And then he would also not really be accepted in the shadow hunter community anymore.
Yeah. So he...
This feels like a larger social problem that they should solve, though. Like, why can't they be friends with each other?
At this point in time, it was pretty recently that shadow hunters were like killing them for sport.
We're evil. Yeah. And it's still up for debate.
Right. And he doesn't really want to be a silent brother, like the monk
Would
people.
that save his life?
Well, so he's pretty sure that the demon drug in his system would mean that he wouldn't be able to get the special runes that they get, because silent brothers do live pretty much forever.
Oh.
Because of something special with, like, the magic and the transformation that happens in the runes that get put on them. It's a whole thing that I don't super understand or care to explain. But it would give him immortality, and also silent brothers can't marry. And his big thing is he's like, I want to get married. Which, seeing as it's Victorian times, he wants to...
I feel like they could just do that.
Right.
Anyway. But I wouldn't want to get my mouth stitched shut, so I get it.
Part of Tessa's grief in this situation while they're having this conversation is that Jem will die.
Yeah.
And he is a big believer in the afterlife, and she will presumably live forever, meaning that she'll never see him in this afterlife, meaning that...
Presumably live forever. Why will she live forever?
Because warlocks are immortal.
Yeah, but, like, she's almost died several times in this book already.
Right, she could get killed.
Yeah.
She could get killed.
Realistically, she will die.
She'd get killed, but it's one of those where she could die, but it would be maybe a long time, you know?
Does she love him?
At this point, yeah. At this point...
In the last 2 months, she's decided...
In the last 2 months, yeah.
Stockholm Syndrome.
Right. So she runs into Will when he comes back from his excursion, and he tells her everything that Jem told him, even though they promised not to tell her, because there's no more drug to be bought.
Oh.
So there's no way to hide it from Tessa. He's obviously freaking out, because he's like, now I can find the cure, but he's not even going to live long enough for me to find it. She calms him down enough to convince him to pair up in their quest for a cure. She's like, you're not alone in this. Let's go to Magnus Bane. Magnus is not stoked to see them because he hasn't seen or heard from them in 2 months. So
and the last time he saw them, weren't they about to fuck on the balcony? And he was like, you gotta get out of here, kids.
I don't really remember the last time Magnus saw them.
That's the last time I heard you say his name. Was when he pulled up at the party and he was like, damn, get out of here.
Yeah, yeah. So he tries to pull the I'm a warlock, I don't owe shadow hunters anything, to which Tessa's like, well, I'm not a shadow hunter. To which he replies, congrats on your engagement to Jem being really messy. He's also ultimately, he's like, put your thinking caps on. Who do you think would be purposefully buying up the drug? Obviously Mortman, who we know was doing exactly that 2 months ago in the last book. Magnus is like, I'm not understanding why you're coming to me about this. Like, can you just put your heads...
Well, they're 17 years old.
Right. So a fight ensues after the head of the werewolves, who Magnus is living with right now, is like, well, why are you guys so stressed out? Does Jem dying not make your lives...
Magnus is messy.
Well, no, this is Magnus's friend.
Oh.
This is the head of the werewolves.
Right. I'm sorry. Magnus's friends are messy.
Also, yes. Will immediately attacks him. Magnus breaks up the fight, and Will confesses to him in another room, not in front of Tessa, that he has to find a cure for Jem, because if Jem dies, he can't be with Tessa, because then it'll seem like he profited from Jem's death, or
fuck off.
Or was waiting for him to die to be with her. Afterwards, he tells Tessa, I don't know what I am, and when Jem is gone, there will be no one to show me. He's really going through it. He's really going through it because he spent so many years believing that he had to be this awful person, and he doesn't really, and Jem was the only person who kind of kept him from fully being awful. So he's just starting to face the reality that he might be losing his North Star, if you will. Later, Charlotte receives a letter from Mortman confessing that he did in fact have all of the demon drug, and said he'll give it to them if they hand over Tessa. Tessa is like, okay, obviously I will go, but in response, Jem throws throws the gifted dose of demon drug that had been enclosed in the letter. Jem throws it in the fire. He's like, I'm not going to let you do that for me.
You're not helping things.
He throws it in the fire, and Will immediately dives into the fire to get it.
Does he get it?
He's able to get enough.
Okay.
They do get some that they give to Jem, but Jem is like, yeah, I should have known that you were going to do that. My bad. So the consul, right? The head of the government. I'm going to try my best to differentiate the pronunciation enough of consul versus council.
I'm understanding.
Right.
I just think it's silly.
Right. The consul shows up at the Institute to discuss the death of Benedict Lightwood, Wormdad, because Tatiana filed a murder complaint against Gabriel. She claims that her poor dad was sick and then hunted down and killed. The whole
Tatiana, the one who was widowed by her father?
Right. The whole crew and Gabriel attest to that not being true, and Tessa confirms that Tatiana is definitely only doing this because she told Tessa how humiliating this was for her.
Okay.
The Clave, the general government people, have made the decision to release Jessamine from the Silent City, where she has been for the last 2 months.
Oh my god.
She's being sent back to the Institute because her money was seized and she has nowhere else to go.
Why is she being freed?
Just because they've gotten all they can from her.
But didn't she commit multiple crimes and betray them?
Yeah, but
why would they send her back there?
At this point, because of the questioning, she's like a little bit insane. She's like a shell of a person.
So they're like, perfect, let's send this shell villain back
Yeah.
from whence she came?
Yeah.
Okay.
In the background of this story, through a series of letters, there is the upcoming decision of who will be appointed as consul, because the current consul, his term limit is about to be up, so he needs to appoint a successor.
Damn, they got term limits in this universe?
Yeah, it's like 10 years. The council...
Wish we had those.
I know. The council has recommended Charlotte, and while the consul was the one who appointed her head to the London Institute and seemingly had a good relationship with her, he knew her dad, he had a good relationship with her. And despite that, in these letters, we see that he thinks that a woman is not fit to be consul. The consul then starts creating this story that Charlotte isn't qualified because she's the one who ordered Jessamine to be released, which isn't true. And maybe she did that because she's in league with Mortman.
Okay.
And the council are like, well, we're gonna need proof of this. If you're making claims of this, then we are gonna need proof. So the consul is like, fine, I'm gonna get proof. So in order to get this proof, the consul uses the potential murder charge against Gabriel and also the reputational harm to the Lightwood family name to blackmail Gabriel and Gideon into spying on Charlotte for him. He tells them that he placed Charlotte at the Institute with the assumption that Henry wouldn't interfere, which he hasn't, but that Charlotte would be woman and remain docile and obedient, which hasn't happened, so he wants her gone, and also certainly not to be his successor in the consul.
Damn.
So they agree to help, but later, separately between themselves, they hatch a plan that they'll give him fake
info
updates because they want to be better men than their father, and they have no reason to betray Charlotte.
And also, like, the Lightwood family name is ruined already.
Yeah, and also Gideon is like, the Lightwood family name right now has a reputation for being people that would agree to do something like this.
Yeah.
So...
not something they want to preserve.
Mm-hmm.
When your dad turns into a worm, it's kind of like, all right, that's it.
Exactly. So Tessa and Jem finally have a conversation about his situation. He wrote a song for her on the violin. Very sweet. They decide that...
Sorry, that just like felt like a jump scare to me.
Well, remember he plays a violin.
Yeah, the memory of that is what is the jump scare to me.
They decide that clearly waiting for the council to decide if this wedding can proceed, because remember they're waiting on the council being like, she's gonna ascend to be a shadow hunter, and the council has to approve this.
Right.
But the council could very easily drag their feet until Jem is dead.
Bummer.
They plan to get married the next day.
Just like in secret.
It wouldn't be an official shadow hunter wedding, but Jem secured a mundane marriage license so they could go into any church and get married. After he announces this to our Institute crew, Tessa and Will have a moment alone where they talk about their feelings for the first time since the big confession. He's basically like, I believe that you'll make him happy, and I hoped that my feelings for you would go away, but I love you more now than I did before.
Oh my god.
And Tessa very nearly confesses to him that she feels the same. But
she doesn't.
She does. Because at this point, she's starting to feel like she loves both of them romantically equally.
And wants them to kiss.
No. No.
Okay. So not a challenger situation.
Well, yeah.
Well,
she, like, wants the two boyfriends, but...
But she doesn't want her boyfriends to be boyfriends.
No, the way that Will and Jem love each other, it's not romantic, but it's intense. So it's more interesting. I'm
interested, for sure.
So, Jessamine is coming. Tessa and Will join everyone outside to do their meet and greet with her. But a scuffle breaks out when a second carriage full of automatons arrives.
Forgot about those guys.
In the fight, these automatons are much more difficult to kill than all of the other ones that they've fought before. Mrs. Black, who Will had killed in the first book, the one that he decapitated, kidnaps Tessa. Throws her in a carriage, chloroform, and takes her away. Jessamine...
What was all that fighting training for?
Yeah, well, Jessamine is killed in the fight and dies in Will's arms on the steps of the Institute. And still in her dying moments, she's unable to say where Mortman was.
Damn.
Jem collapses and is in really awful shape after trying to run after the carriage that Tessa was in. Jem is in a really bad way, and we still don't know where Tessa is. Will is understandably falling apart. Without Tessa and Jem, he has no real sense of self. Cecily tells him that she knows where Mortman is, so when Jessamine was dying and told Will again that Mortman was in Idris, which is the Shadowhunter country, they knew that to be impossible and false. So that's why they were like, Jessamine isn't, like, can't tell us the truth, can't tell us where Mortman is. Jessamine said to Will, "You are a terrible Welshman," and then she died. Cecily overheard this, put two and two together from knowing Mortman, because remember, like, her family, he kind of interfered, that this doesn't mean the country of Idris, it means a mountain in Wales called, and I'm so sorry to the Welsh people, I'm gonna try my best to pronounce this, Cadair, Cadair.
Okay.
Cadair Idris. Cecily is like, Mortman absolutely took Tessa there just to get back at you, which is partially true, although the area also has a history of supernatural myths surrounding it, so that gives it a good cover for anything weird happening there. The people in the area wouldn't question hearing strange noises from there because of the folklore that surrounds it. Knowing this information, the consul is refusing to allow a group to go to Wales. He does not give a fuck about Tessa because she's a downworlder.
Not a Shadowhunter.
And he's happy to let her be forced to marry Mortman. He also confronts Gabriel separately, and he lets him know that he knows that Gabriel and Gideon are lying to him. So he manipulates Gabriel into another deal that he's like, you can't tell Gideon, where Gabriel will spy on Charlotte and write lies to the consul so the consul can present them as proof. Because Gabriel's like, well, we had to make stuff up because there was nothing.
So now he's like, make more stuff up.
If you write me fake stuff, then I can present those to the Institute as proof. Since the consul won't allow the group, or any group, to go, Will makes the decision to go after Tessa himself. And asks...
That makes sense.
And he asks Magnus to stay with Jem, because at this point, things are not good for Jem. Jem is bedridden at this point. But Jem hasn't woken up yet, and Will is like, I obviously want to be here for Jem, but nobody's gonna go after Tessa, and I can't leave her to that fate, and also Jem wouldn't want me to.
And Jem would wake up and say, wow, you went and got my fiance for me and only me.
So he asks Magnus to stay with Jem, and when Magnus leaves the room to give Will a moment to tell an unconscious Jem goodbye for likely the final time, Jem wakes up saying, what did Magnus mean when he asked if I knew you were in love with Tessa? Because
Magnus, you messy bitch.
Because Magnus asked Will, like, oh, did you and Jem ever talk about that? And Will was like, no, I did not want him to have to deal with, like, my feelings about her.
Oh my god.
So they finally have the big discussion. And Jem at first is like, are you sure it's not just, like, a phase? And he's immediately like, okay, right, no, clearly not. Jem is like, I thought you were getting better and happier because I knew that you were hanging out with Magnus, so I thought that, like, Magnus had done something magical. To
like, make you feel better?
He says to free you of some imagined guilt.
Okay.
And he said if I had known your feelings, I never would have pursued her, etc., etc. They were both just very clueless about each other's feelings in this case. They're both like, I never knew, and Will's...
God forbid two boys communicate.
Yeah, and Will's like, just so you know, I never knew that you had feelings for her either.
You guys are crazy.
However, ultimately knowing that Will loves her makes it easier for Jem to ask him to leave and go to Tessa, which Will was planning to do anyway, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But now
Jem's like, go, you have my blessing.
Well, now Jem's awake, and now it's harder for Will to leave him.
Right.
It's a really heartbreaking moment, actually, because part of the Parabatai bond is where you go, I go.
Aww.
And don't go where I cannot follow you. And where Jem is going, Will can't follow. And
so
Jem doesn't want him to follow.
Yeah.
And Will is torn between wanting to go wherever Jem goes and also staying living, but also not wanting to abandon him to go where he can't go.
Exactly.
Right?
Right. Neither of them can follow the other right now.
Right. And now that Jem is awake, now he's just like very confronted with the possibility that is going to happen.
Yeah.
So Jem tells him to go and also gives him his blessing to be with Tessa.
Wow.
And it's kind of similar to what Will was feeling earlier, where he was like, I feel like since we both love the same girl in the same way, I wish that we could just talk about and like bond over this. Mm-hmm. And Jem basically feels the same way, where he's like, our hearts love the same person in the same way. Of course, we are so soul bonded that our hearts would also love the same person, because their hearts are so tied together that in a way Jem will still be there with him. He's like, you're taking part of me with her, and we will all be together.
Wow.
They promise to reunite in the afterlife and in their future lives forever. Again, I know the point of this podcast is like, I read it so you don't have to. If you're gonna read any of them specifically, I would recommend reading this book.
Okay.
Like, listen to the first 2 episodes and then read this book. I think because so much of it is you're with Will, and Will just, like, has a way with words. The way that this book is written is just beautiful.
Okay.
So as Will is gonna leave, Cecily tries to go with him, but he's able to convince her to stay. Charlotte is extremely upset that he's left when she finds out the next day, but she decides that it's best to just let him go and to focus on helping Jem, since Will gets some strength through Jem from the bond. Since Magnus has been tasked by Will to stay with Jem, Charlotte puts everyone to work with helping Magnus find a cure, because they're like, maybe having magic is kind of the missing thing that we need here.
You would think.
Cecily and Gabriel are paired up, and something is definitely cooking.
Sparks are flying.
Cooking there. Gabriel thinks to himself that it's crazy that Cecily looks exactly like Will, except she's so beautiful, and obviously he had never thought about what Will looked like before.
Okay.
Obviously. Henry and Magnus are our other pair, collabing and queening out in Henry's laboratory. They're having the best time together. To Henry's credit, a lot of his proposed ideas throughout this book that don't work and fail catastrophically, they are tools actively used all the time in the main and future series.
Aww,
so we know
he's just like ahead of his time.
We know that he does succeed eventually. Remember, he is 23. So, catching up with Tessa. We haven't seen much of her this book. Haven't talked about her much, I feel. When Tessa wakes up in the carriage and is talking to Mrs. Black, she sees that Mrs. Black had been brought back to life by attaching her long dead, meaning rotten, head onto an automaton body. She says that she was reanimated through Nate sacrificing some people. Nate, Tessa's brother. So these are just kind of...
Tessa's brother dead?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Thank
she
God.
killed him in the last book.
That's right.
So these are kind of the vibes that Tessa is entering en route to Mortman. Mrs. Black also confirms that Tessa's mom was a shadow hunter. She also says that Tessa was created to be the ruin of the Nephilim, and that caring about them makes her a more effective weapon. Tessa puts her training to the test and throws herself out of the carriage, but unfortunately over a cliff.
Oh.
Very a la New Moon.
Thank you for putting it into terms I can understand.
If you recall from the first book, her Clockwork Angel necklace.
Yes.
And how it
saved her life.
Mm-hmm.
And then fluttered away, right? Or did
but then it came back.
Okay.
It does so again and becomes big, and its wings bring them safely down to the side of the stream where Tessa faints. Fade to black.
She loves to do that.
Will is on the road at this point, and he actually has a dream about Tessa. During this time of him being on the road, we never really get any answers to why this happens, but he and Tessa dream about each other during this period of time, like, Will has a dream about Tessa that starts off very happy and lovey-dovey, but then she falls off a cliff in the dream. So as he's continuing down the road, he sees Tessa's necklace that was a bridal gift from Jem on the edge of the cliff. So he knows that she's around and he starts calling to her. And Tessa wakes up to Will's voice calling to her, but it seems like she didn't actually wake up until much later. Like, her brain didn't fully process it until later. He was already gone. Okay. He didn't see her, but...
Oh, no. So he passes her.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Will, I'm back here.
Tessa is able to follow the stream down and shelter in an abandoned little cottage. Mrs. Black and an automaton find her, and she almost gets them to leave her alone by shifting into the old woman who used to live there by using a blanket on the bed. She was like, surely this belonged to somebody.
Yeah.
But she still had her necklace on.
Damn.
So that gave her away. And they take her again. So while the crew at the Institute is working on a cure, Jem is not getting any better. He tells Charlotte later that he wants everyone to stop looking for the cure.
Again?
Because he can't keep living for other people forever. He's like, I stayed alive as long as I have because Will needed me, and then I was expediting this process because I was doing it for Tessa, and if you really want me to stay alive, I'll do it for you, but at this point, it wouldn't be my choice.
So he wants to die?
Yeah. He at this point is tired of living a life so sick all the time.
Okay.
You know, and so reliant on the drugs.
I support medically assisted dying.
Kind of where he's at is he's like, I have made my peace with it. Back to Will. He is at an inn on the road. Not a mundane one. It's full of downworlders, including the head of the London werewolf pack that he got into a fight with at Magnus's house.
Right. The messy one.
Mm-hmm. He suddenly feels incredible pain and sees that the Parabatai rune on his chest is bleeding and fading from black into a silver scar, which means that Jem has died. In a very Will manner, he copes with this by killing some of the werewolves who had followed him outside to attack him, because he's a shadow hunter and they were like wanting retribution for whatever. Will leaves and does a sort of oath for Jem where he buries a knife under a tree.
Okay.
And he says, I say there is a river that divides the dead and the living. If we are born again, I will meet you in another life. And if there is a river, you will wait on the shores for me to come to you so that we can cross together. We are bound over the divide of death forever.
Stop, I'm sad. Poor Jem Carstairs.
So, pivot. So, back at the Institute, the old man who ran the York Institute, his name is...
really, like, racist one?
Yeah, I have no idea how to pronounce his first name. It's, like, Aloysius.
Alright, we can call him racist old man.
His last name is Starkweather.
Alright.
Remember how he seemed to feel some kind of personal connection to Tessa, and she's like, something is going on, I'm not really sure why he feels like he knows me or something?
Yes.
He shows up at the Institute. He comes in talking to Charlotte and is immediately bragging about killing a downworlder.
Of course.
Charlotte is like, you cannot be doing that. And he said, well, his kind killed my granddaughter. He had a granddaughter who was very sickly. And at her first runing ceremony, which all shadow hunter children go through when they're like 5 or 6 years old, the rune ends up killing her.
Oh my god.
All this aside, Charlotte is like, why are you here? We are a house in mourning. Mm-hmm. And he said, I have something important to tell you about Mortman and Tessa. So back to his granddaughter. Sometime after he killed Mortman's parents, his daughter-in-law insisted that her child wasn't her child, even though she looked exactly the same, except for the eyes had changed from blue to gray, which is something that happens in babies. So everyone was like, I think she's just kind of going crazy, until the child died in the runing ceremony, which
shit.
If you put a rune on a mundane, it kills them.
Okay.
He had heard rumors later of fairies and other downworlders bragging that they had replaced the shadow hunter with a sickly mundane child. The fairy that he killed earlier that he was bragging about killing confirmed this to him.
Okay.
So when he met Tessa, when she came to the York Institute, she looked exactly like his daughter-in-law, which is why...
So he's like,
that's
maybe my granddaughter?
So that's why he seemed so startled, but she seemed to not have any shadow hunter her blood. So he was like, that's just a coincidence, whatever. After doing some digging, he learned that his real granddaughter had been sent to live with the mundane family that the other baby was from.
Mm-hmm.
And this baby grew up to be Tessa's mother. So that is why when everyone was like, Tessa, your mom was a shadow hunter.
Yeah. Wow.
Her mom was by blood a shadow hunter, but didn't know and was raised in a mundane family.
Oh my god.
So
reveal.
And so that's why even the Shadowhunter government didn't even know she existed. For the story of Tessa's father, Mortman learned what happened about the baby swap and decided to use Tessa's mom, hired Tessa's dad to get close to her mom, and then got a demon to impersonate her husband and conceive Tessa. The goal was to create the child of a Shadowhunter and a demon, which we know is always stillborn, right?
Right.
But what if the reason the babies are always stillborn is because of the runes that Shadowhunters get when they're so young? There's never been a case of a Shadowhunter without runes. So now knowing that a Downworlder is related to him, he's kind of experiencing what homophobic parents experience when their kid comes out and they're like, oh my god, wait, gay people are people.
Okay.
So he's like, Charlotte, please tell Tessa if you ever see her again that she always is welcome at the York Institute.
Okay.
Charlotte ultimately is like, the consul and the council need to know so that we can hatch a plan, but the consul is not going to help me. He's not going to give a fuck. And she's right, because she writes to him and he says, I think you're lying. Stop talking about it or I'm going to have you removed from your position as head of the London Institute.
Why is this man just like evil?
In one of his letters that we see a letter that he had written and then crossed out, but we still see kind of what his original thoughts were. And what he had started to write was that he was concerned that his tenure as consul was going to be overshadowed by Charlotte and that he wouldn't have a legacy, that the era would be the time of Charlotte.
Okay.
That is where I am ending part 1.
With him being like, be quiet?
Yeah.
Okay, I guess we will be quiet now.
We've got a lot more to cover. I want to make sure that we're in tip-top shape for that.
Here are my theories. I don't really feel that Jem is dead. Because I feel like to skip a, like, dramatic moment where he dies in front of Will and Tessa feels like a lot. I feel like something else is going to happen. Like, I feel like we haven't seen the last of Jem, personally. I feel like the consul needs to die, just because he's personally a very annoying character to me. And I don't like when a villain is just like, well, I'm evil. I feel like he doesn't have any reasoning, and so that's irritating.
It's just misogyny. Like, his only reason when Gabriel and Gideon talk, they're like, there's nothing here. There's no tea. There's no dirt here. What is the issue? He's like, well, she's a woman. That's the issue. He's very clear about it. He's like, a woman should not be in this space.
I feel like it's time for Tessa to figure out what the fuck is going on with her little clockwork angel. Who gave her that? What's the sitch there?
Well, her mom did.
Yeah, but like, what's the vibe? Why does this thing just like protect her? That's it for now.
Okay. Good.
That's how I feel.
Thank you for listening. Thanks for sticking with us, and stay tuned for part 2 of the finale of the Infernal Devices trilogy. It's an exciting one. I think that if you've been online in any capacity, you know, around the time when these books were published, then I think you'll know what's happening.
But not me. I truly do not know.
When I was writing up the notes last night, I could not see what I was typing due to the tears in my eyes. So, get ready.
Damn, do they both just die? Why are you so upset? Okay, I'm scared.
Alrighty, stay tuned. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.